Are you worried that nobody's going to show up to your live stream while you're on air? I actually have a secret for you. Most people won't. They are going to watch your replay. So when you do your live streaming, go into it with the mindset of, it would be amazing if people show up and engage with me while I'm on air, but I'm doing this for the replay, especially for replays that then either exist on YouTube or get repurposed to YouTube because it's searchable content. So your mindset with this needs to be, I'm doing this for the future, not for right this very second. And if people show up while you're live, that's amazing. I want you to engage with them, answer questions, have those conversations. But even if they don't, treat it as if you have a ton of people watching the live stream. The replay people aren't going to know who's there and who isn't. They don't know you're talking to an empty room or if you're talking to a full room. So I want you to immediately launch into your conversation because we're doing this with our replay people in mind. And replay people will not stick around for you stalling to wait for people to show up. You want to make sure you launch immediately into your content. So introduce what you're talking about and get to your topics. Make sure you're taking advantage of agenda notes and putting topics up on screen if possible, depending on where you're live streaming. And you want to make sure you're having these conversations. If people show up, that's amazing. Answer their questions in real time and engage with them and give them a call to action. But if you don't, make sure you've got a couple of frequently asked questions or questions that go with the topics that you can be answering while you're live. Remember, most people will show up during your replay, so you want to make sure you're answering any questions those people might have. So think of common questions. Think of those basic questions that people might ask while you're live and answer those even if nobody asks them. Now, bonus points if you're really worried about people not showing up while you're live, plant an audience member or two, your best friend, your sister, your mom, or whatever, and you can either give them a list of questions to ask or they can come up with questions on their own to ask, and that way you get some engagement. But keep in mind, you're doing this with your replay audience in mind. Jump into your conversation right off the bat and then do every single point and every single question as if you've got an audience with you listening, but also with that audience who's going to be listening to the replay. You need to keep in mind that they are going to be your priority here. So even if nobody shows up, that's okay. You've got an audience, they're just not with you right this very second. They'll be with you in a couple of minutes. So you want to make sure that you've got all your bases covered. You're jumping right into your conversation and not wasting anybody's time. Your conversation is going to be short and concise so that you don't have a really long replay for people to look at and say, oh, I'm not going to spend 40 minutes listening to this, but I might spend 14. So keep it as quick as possible and to the point as possible, even if you have an audience who is actively asking questions. Get to the point and get things answered for them, and then get yourself signed off. You want to make sure you're leaning into the replay audience. Talk to them. Even though they're not here in the room with you right this second, they will be. So say things like, if you're on the replay, answer these questions anyway. I will be in the comments after engaging with you. So even though you're not here in the moment, please let me know so that I can still have that conversation with you. This actively invites people to join you for your conversations, and when you do consistent live streaming and talk to them and engage with them and ask for the audience to respond to you, they're much more likely not only to respond to you, but to start to learn your schedule and show up for the live streams because they're going to get even more value if they're in real time. Remember, if you're asking them to ask you questions and you're answering them in the comments, that's amazing. That shows that you care about them and that you're taking the time to serve them. But you also have the ability, if they show up in real time, to serve them in real time. They can clarify what they're asking. They can ask questions to build upon the questions that they're asking. Showing up in real time has more benefits than watching the replay. So you're doing this with the replay people in mind, and it's training them to show up and be active members of your live community as well. Do not panic. When you start out live streaming, it is slow going. It's slow to build an audience, but do it as if the entire room is packed and you have so much coming in that you don't even have time to answer everything. Talk to your audience, engage them, and invite them to have conversations with you and invite them to come join you while you're live for your next live stream. It takes time to build this up, but you're not doing it for the immediate reward. You're doing it for the future of the content you're creating. And the live streams that you're doing right now don't end right now. They live on as you put them on YouTube and you put them on social media platforms and you clip them up and you repurpose them everywhere. It lives on throughout time as people are continuing to search for these topics and look for you and look for answers on the things that you're discussing within the conversation that you're having. So this is a long-lasting process. Yes, it lasts a few minutes while you're on air, but if you don't get engagement right this second, don't worry, because it's coming. And the more you do it, the better you get at it, the better you get at getting people drawn in and having those conversations in real time, and the longer your content is going to last and thrive on the platforms. So just remember, this is a long game. Just because it feels like it ends when you hit that off-air button doesn't mean it's the end of the conversation that you're having. If you want more tips and tricks on how to thrive with your live streaming, subscribe to the channel, because we've got all things leveling up on your live streaming. We're talking tech, we're talking gear, we're talking about your mindset, we are talking about topics that you can be discussing on air, and tips and tricks, best practices for live streaming. And I want to hear your questions. What's holding you back from live streaming right now? What's tripping you up? Do you need tech that I should be checking out on your behalf so you know if it works or not? Let me know in the comments below. Hit the subscribe and notification bell. And if you need serious help with your live streaming, I have a full free course on livestreamactionplan.com where you can go through the entire process of learning about the gear and the lighting, on what you can be doing for topics, on best practices, and how you can be really getting people to engage with you during your live streams. Full free course, livestreamactionplan.com. Oh yeah, and there's a full year of done with you live streams so that you don't even have to think about the topics you're creating. You just fill in the blanks and you go live. It's amazing, livestreamactionplan.com, and I'll get to all of your questions down in the comments below. And join me for all the fun here on Livestream Action Plan's YouTube page.